Welcome to all of you that are here. Today we're continuing along our journey of studying the stages of the path to enlightenment. And we're on the sixth stage, or at least the sixth session. There may have been some two stages in one or an overlap in some. But either way, we're here. And today's topic or today's stage is, can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Okay. Yeah, today's stage is exploring and looking into the characteristics and dynamics of samsara, which is a word we all probably are very familiar with. But I was struck by the fact that it's a stage along the path rather than some sort of statement of fact of existence. So I'm curious to hear about it as a stage that we encounter, rather than some sort of pervasive state that we're in. And yeah, probably most of us understand samsara as suffering, and I think today we'll learn a lot more about it and learn a lot more complexity and details to how it shows up along this path to enlightenment. So again, please take a look at the email for the different ways we can donate to Phuntsok, who has been offering these teachings from his 20 plus years as a Buddhist monk and now his 10 plus years more teaching out of his apartment and on Zoom. Which is so incredible that it's accessible to all of us. Our structure normally is that we'll do an intro meditation, sometimes very specific to the topic. Then there'll be the teaching, and then there'll be a closing meditation and sometimes space for questions. And again, I did want to say that if you have a question and we don't have time to get to it at the end of the session today or at any time, please feel free to email the thread that you get, and we can try to answer those directly through email or in the next session coming up. And with that, I will pass it over to you. I just want to say that I'll stay on, and then I unfortunately have to leave a little early today, but I'll be here for as long as I can. So looking forward to it. Thank you, Phuntsok.
Okay, thank you very much. Uh, so today we will tackle another term I think a lot of people are familiar with. We tackled karma, which seems to be part of the English dictionary now. Not only the English dictionary, but also I think it has been incorporated into many Western languages as part of their dictionary. And in the same way, samsara is also another word that has come into the English dictionary, and because it's like karma, a word that a lot of people know, then the exact understanding of what samsara is somewhat can be somewhat vague, somewhat distant, somewhat abstract. So our aim tonight is to make samsara very visceral, very real, no longer a philosophical proposition, but actually being able to understand that this is a reality that is immediately not immediate, that is immediate, our immediate experience. That's what it is. Okay. And perhaps we'll talk a little bit about, we will touch on Nirvana, which is the opposite of samsara. I'm sure Nizam, as usual, did a beautiful job with the email notification. I would love for Nizam to read his email so we can get a nice found a place for us to start.
Okay, let me pull it up and I'll read it. Great. Yes, I can do that. I usually don't do that, but if that's something, I should do that normally, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, also I just need to pull over because I'm driving, which is not great. Um, yes, give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this Thursday, we continue along the path with the next stage, exploring the characteristics of samsara. Generally, samsara is the experience of suffering. Paradoxically, it is only possible through the true nature of reality. It is only possible because the true nature of reality is inherently free and open, which is nirvana, which allows for the possibility of suffering. Hence, samsara is not separate from nirvana, but profoundly interconnected with it. Nevertheless, we must deeply examine samsara, its conditions, its antecedents, its reach, and its felt sense in order to bring about meaningful change. Along the path to enlightenment, there is no way around it. Yes, that's it.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool, as always. Okay, so before I get into that, let's do our usual opening meditation. So, make the intention to enter meditation. There's no need to intellectualize it as to what it is or what it should not be. Just have the intention and allow the natural intelligence in the body, in the mind to respond to the call. And feel yourself like in the center of all your different dimensions. And feel the response from the physical, from the energetic, from the intellectual, from the emotional, without trying to adjust them, without trying to correct them, without pushing away any experience, without grasping onto any experience. And eventually the natural intelligence within the body will communicate, will respond, and you will feel it like the need to make certain adjustments. So the body will abide in a state of stability and comfort. So make the necessary adjustments, knowing that the adjustments that you're making are responses to advice arising from the natural intelligence of the body. And once you feel confident in the posture, its comfort, its stability, then have a nice scan of the posture. And as you're scanning, either from legs to head or from head to feet, feel connected to the signs that the body is ready. And after you are done with the scanning, you gently bring attention to the breath. Don't worry about what shouldn't be there and push them away. Don't try to grasp on what should be here and try to hold on to them. But just stay in just being aware. And using the breath as a center point that you are observing from the breath. As you breathe in, you hear this. As you breathe out, you hear that. As you breathe in, you thought this. As you breathe out, you thought that. And eventually you will begin to experience the breath itself communicating an alignment is taking place with the different dimensions of your being. The breath begins to take on the sense of calm, the sense of pleasantness that is palpably present in the body. When that occurs, take that as an indication that you are now ready to fully commit to the session, to the meditation session. And as a way of sort of signing your signature to your commitment, we will take 3 conscious full breaths. Gently, fully through the nose, breathe in. And hold the breath. And as you hold the breath, relax, relax, relax. And at the end of that, now release. And as you're releasing it, feel yourself sort of melting, feel consciousness melting, feel grasping, letting go, feel aversion, letting go. Feel yourself entering deeper into a state of calm, a state of pleasantness. Do not grasp, do not reject what is the opposite. And at the end of the exhalation, just stay there, leave the breath alone. Let the breath return to its own rhythm, and just stay in the calm that you've reached, that the breath brought you into. Not deliberately notice it in the body, in the breath, in the mind, energetically. And taking that as your new platform to go even deeper. So staying aware of the measure of calm, the measure of pleasantness, the degree of clarity and radiance and vividness. Breathe in again. Stay, breathe in, stay, breathe in, stay. And hold. Letting go again. Letting go mentally, letting go energetically, letting go conceptually, letting go, letting go. Whatever way you can experience letting go, just let go. Physically, let go. And release. And as you're releasing again, feel yourself going deeper into that calm, physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, letting go, until the end of the breath. Stay where the breath took you, leave the breath alone, no longer concern yourself with holding the breath, controlling the breath, but just be aware of where you've reached. A deeper sense of calm in the body, a deeper sense of calm in the breath, a more sort of sense of joy and pleasantness. Again, using this now as the new platform. Again, staying there, breathe in. So that you continue to be aware of this calm, just continue to be aware of this pleasantness as you breathe in. Hold and release. Feel tensions in the shoulder, release. Feel tensions in the mind, release. Emotional, release. Just let everything drop. And release the breath. And continue that sense of dropping, continue that sense of release, continue that sense of letting go, witnessing the calm becoming calmer, the pleasant becoming more pleasant. And at the end of that breath, again, just leave the breath alone and just stay with the calm, noticing it's deeper, stronger. Noticing the inner sensations are more palpable, clearer, more vivid. That's the luminosity of the mind, that's the clarity of the mind, indirectly being observed, being experienced. And just for the sake of being in one place together, just accept, just for now, that everything, every experience, the me, the you, the space where we live, the subjectivities, the subjective experiences, the objective perceptions and experiences, just think of them, just for now, they are all just expressions of a fundamental reality. Don't think of it as a fundamental oneness or fundamental two-ness or fundamental duality or triplicity or unity, but just think of some fundamental truth. And all these things are expressions of it. All these things are, it's that fundamental foundation, that fundamental basis, sort of like morph itself into what you're experiencing as your different thoughts, your different emotions, your different ideas. It has morphed into what you experience as the physicality that you are bound to, feel bound to, boundness, the physicality that you are witnessing that gives you a sense of surrounding. Everything, every experience, think of all of them, subjective and objective, as being that fundamental basis has been morphed into those things. The experience of time, the experience of space. And just consider everything that comes up. Immediately tell yourself, oh, this is a morphing of that fundamental basis. This is a morphing of that fundamental state. This thought that just came up, this emotion that just came up, this memory that just came up, the sound I just heard, this feeling I just felt, this thing that grabbed the attention of this sense perception. Immediately, the perceiving it, the object that is perceived, the relating to it, all these are that fundamental basis having been morphed, having been molded. So this multiplicity, this diversity, and try to think this, and try to see if you can really hold on to this. So whatever comes up, say this, and just stay and try to see if you can stay observing whatever that came up, that you say this. And different forms, different appearances, different thoughts give rise to different responses. What if there was an appearance, a form, upon encountering it, would give a response of directing to this fundamental basis? Basically, that will immediately point to what we feel are noble, virtuous, reliable, meaningful experiences, or meaning in general, safety. So the very fundamental basis that has been molded into what you call me, the continuum that you call me. Now, let yourself relax. Allow it to now take on an appearance that would be a guiding appearance, an appearance that points not outside of the fundamental, but actually an appearance that points to the fundamental. And one of the things about the fundamental, one of the signs of the presence of the fundamental is compassion, wisdom, freedom. So a form that immediately makes you connect to freedom, connect to compassion, make you immediately think about those things in a way that you feel that is believable, that is palpable. Perhaps it's a mythical being, perhaps It's a teacher you've encountered, that you know about, you read about, whose works that you encountered and felt inspired. Perhaps it is a personality that you read about in history. So bring that to mind. It could be your grandmother. So it's not that compassion is that form. It's not that wisdom is that form, but that form has serves the function for you of pointing to something meaningful. So express gratitude towards the form for being able to do that for you. And allow yourself to feel trust that it is reliable, because its function for you is to point to what is meaningful. So we'll always be pointing to what is meaningful. So allow yourself to trust it. It points to the safety that you seek. It points to the sense of meaning that you seek. Trust it. It could even be not necessarily a form, a visual form. It could be a piece of music that does that for you, a piece of art that does that for you. Or it could be some philosophical thought, idea. So that's the form, upon encountering it, that points to something meaningful to you. And you're grateful for that pointing. You trust the pointing. And you feel reverence. And knowing that pointer is itself that fundamental basis, having being molded into that particular function. And allow yourself to feel the distance, if it is present, the distance between you and the true meaningness. Like you will seek meaning and there's a distance between you and the meaning. You seek safety and there's a distance between you and the safety. How does that distance feel like? It seems to be ever present. Know that this ever-present discomfort, this ever-present sense of distance is not intrinsic to life, even though it seems to be that way. And wish to know it for what it actually is. Wish to know how it actually came into being. And itself, what is it pointing to? And let your heart and your mind be open. Be stirred by the love and compassion you feel for those who are feeling this distance in a probably at much more painful way than you probably are experiencing now. So out of love for them, out of compassion for them, wish to know, what is this? Where does it come from? What brought it into being? And trust the connection that you've made with that appearance that is inspiring, pointing to something meaningful, pointing to something, to safety. Rely on it to help you, and feel your mind open, feel your heart open to it. And with conviction that the reliance is true, it's truly reliable, express gratitude. Now you're feeling ready. Your heart is open to your own innate intelligence, your own innate wisdom. Now let's begin. Go back to just the space of the meditation, the feeling of the calm in the body, the breath and the mind, the pleasantness, the sense of clarity and radiance through the inner sensations that are present. And feeling ready, take a nice deep breath. Hold it for a second or two, feeling ready. And as you release it, feel yourself again reconnecting directly to your immediate surroundings through the sense of touch, sound, and sight. Okay. So the journey so far, Berenjor, Nyeka, Mitak, Lendre. Now we are at Korwenyemik. We sort of did the refuge before Korwenyemik. We were supposed to do Korwenyemik, which is Samsara. What is it? Korwenyemik means what are the conditions of an unenlightened existence? Literally, Korwenyemik means the disadvantages or the bad things about samsaric existence. And after you go through a contemplation of that, then you're supposed to then seek refuge. Okay, what can give me refuge? What can give me protection? What can I rely on? But we sort of did that in reverse. We did refuge before. All right, so when you hear the word samsara, samsara, immediately, what is your immediate reaction towards it? Does it feel like it's talking about your life as you are living it? As you have been living it? Because that's what samsara is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about your everyday life, every moment of your life. That's what is being described to you. That's what is being pointed at to you. And why is it being pointed out to you? Why do you need it to be pointed out? If you've ever experienced any sense of dissatisfaction with any experience that you've had. If you've gone out to a beautiful dinner with wonderful people, and if your experience was accompanied by some sort of underlying sense of discomfort, underlying sense of dissatisfaction, even though overall you were enjoying yourself, you were enjoying the company, but there was this little thing that was underlying thing that was sort of like almost as if waiting for some sort of like a readiness for something bad to happen, because that has been our experience when so far, where either we are experiencing joy and it goes to a certain state, and then that joy ends, and usually between that joy there's some kind of discomfort, okay? a sense of a dissatisfaction, a sense of friction, you could say, a kind of a friction that seems to be, that permeates life, and a sense of underlying sense of something is not quite right, something is not quite correct. And what is it, and what is it that we do when we have that sense of something is not quite correct, something is not quite right? How do we respond to that? Samsara means wheel. It means cycle, like doing something over and over and over again. And what is it that we are doing over and over and over again? And that's what Samsara is supposed to tell us. Samsara is not the world. Samsara is not a place, but rather how we experience a place, how we experience the world, how we experience our existence, how we experience life. Samsara does not equal life, okay? But rather how life is experienced. So and if we go to that fundamental basis that I'm referring to, that fundamental basis, that that which allows experiences, because it allows infinite diversity of experiences. So we can sort of say its nature is not the diversity, but rather it is the freedom for diversity. It is the potential for diversity. It is not itself the diversity, and the diversity is not completely separate from it. And to even talk about it as though it is some separate thing, but rather it is that very condition that allows for multiple diversity of experience. You could say it is itself freedom. So because of that freedom, because of that the nature of allowing, you could say that samsara is molding that freedom into suffering, molding that fundamental basis into constant self-referential cycle, okay, where everything is a story a story is made about the mere experience, and it is a grasping at that story rather than just staying with the bare experience. And because we grasp at the story, we react to the story that we are grasping. and that grasping to the story, we the reaction to that creates itself further stories that we continue to grasp onto, and then it goes in the cycle. When we encounter something that is pleasant, we grasp, we don't want it to end, and we create a story for us to grasp onto it. When we encounter something that is unpleasant, we create a story and we develop a reactivity of aversion. We need to stay away from it. We create a story. There is the thing there that we create a story about. There's the me here that we create a story about. And then we want a relationship of doing things to create aversion, distance. And there are things that we just have confusion about. There are things that we have even delusions about. And we create stories about those too. So for it not to be just philosophical, you could say samsara is distraction from truth. Samsara is taking our freedom and molding it into suffering, into the opposite of freedom, where we circumscribe our identity into this discrete experience that just happened in the midst of the infinity of diversity. And we want that immediate experience. We want it to do something that is not its nature. We want it to continue to be what it is throughout time, and that is not its nature. Okay, so samsara is basically, and I don't want it to make it sound like it's just our imagination per se, like it's just entirely in your mind, but rather samsara is an observation and instead of being with what is actually present, instead we create stories about what is present and we are attached to the story. And I don't want it to be just philosophical, because samsara is not you have to understand, it is not a philosophy. It is our everyday life. It is the pattern of using the very nature of the very foundation of reality, which is dependent origination or interbeing, taking that very foundation and molding it and seeking to create something that is completely comes completely against that very fundamental truth of interbeing, interdependence. So, and because we are basically distracting ourselves from truth, and the truth that I'm referring to is not some sort of philosophical truth. It's not some sort of abstract truth, but rather the truth of the very present moment. What is actually taking place? And because we have conditioned ourselves to be reactive, and we react with those three, we call the three poisons. And I love the way, I have to say, Geshe Michael actually is the one who stated it this way: stupidly liking, stupidly disliking, and then actively acting from our misunderstanding, making our misunderstanding a motivator, a motivator for action, for relating. And because we started that cycle, it became a habit. And now we are simply mere outcomes of this habit. This habit that of distracting ourselves from this very immediate moment. And that is the truth that we are distracting ourselves from. It's not that we are distracting ourselves from Nagarjuna's text presentation or Chandrakirti's presentation or I don't know Jesam Kappa's presentation, or it's not that those truths presented and somehow we are distracting ourselves from those truths, but rather what is immediately taking place without story. What is immediately taking place without having to put layers of our own projections onto them. What is actually there? That is the truth that we are distracting ourselves from. And because we are caught up in the habit of doing so, and because the sense of safety that we seek outside of ourselves, the sense of meaning that we seek outside of ourselves, because we have established this as a pattern, as a habit, then because of that, we continuously encounter disappointment. Because we have developed the habit of self-reference. We have developed the habit of reification. Because we have developed the habit of grasping, wishing something that is by nature constantly in flux, constantly changing, trying to hold on to it, to demand that it not be its nature, demanding it to be something that is fixed when its very nature is flux. Because of this habit, we continue to disappoint ourselves because we can never encounter something fixed. We can never encounter something that remains forever. And because we keep expecting things to be that way, when we continue to disappoint ourselves. And over time, this disappointment is sort of like in our subconscious mind, there is the sense of, if I encounter something, it will disappoint me. So this sort of creates a kind of safety, a safety reflex, where we are seeking to no longer be disappointed by misunderstanding where the disappointment came from. So we think that reality is the cause of this disappointment. So if we meet reality head on, we will only encounter disappointment. And then what do? We further distract ourselves. We further empower the cycle of distracting. We become masters of distraction. What is it that makes us? It's time for bed, most of us, and then here we are with our phones, and we are swiping. What are we seeking? What is it that we didn't quite yet find during the day, but somehow when it's the very last moment of the day, when the day is about to end, it's almost as if we want something that the day didn't give us. We, at this very moment before the day ends, we are hoping to find it. And what is it that we are doing? We are swiping. And what is going on underneath the swiping? There is the accompanying sense of as soon as we encounter something, it gives us a sense it has a certain degree of interest in it, and then there is the sense of, oh, maybe I will now encounter the thing that will give me the satisfaction that deeply I'm looking for, and it disappoints, and then we swipe and we swipe and we swipe, and then we fall asleep. What is going on? So samsara, don't think of it as a place, but rather this very condition, this very experience of not quite encountering satisfaction. It is this very sense of underneath everything there is something wrong, there's something not quite right. That's what samsara is. Samsara is that experience that you have every day, that experience that accompanies every experience that you have, that makes things not where you're not able to fully invest yourself into a relationship with someone. It is that thing that makes you always hold something back because you're trying to protect something that you feel is precious, which is me. There's a sense of, there is this enduring real me that I need to protect. So I cannot fully make it available because for fear of it will encounter reality and reality will disappoint it. It is, even though you may want to fully invest yourself, have a sense of being completely total, what you might call the sense of being completely being yourself in a relationship. Even though you have that, it is that habitual pattern that makes you hold back, even though you don't want to hold back. Okay, so because of that, because of the cycle, the mechanism that it creates of grasping, it creates the mechanism of aversion, it creates the mechanism of misunderstanding and acting from our misunderstanding. Then that's why it becomes a cycle. It perpetuates itself. It fuels itself. But it is not something that is being imposed upon you. It's not that you are traveling and then somehow you ended up in this place and everybody's telling you, oh, by the way, you're in samsara. Okay? Samsara is not a place that you travel to. It's not a place that you can leave by going to another place. But it is how you encounter reality. And an understanding that the experience that we call samsara, where it goes from mild irritation up to unbearable suffering. Yeah. That's what is samsara. So it's not necessarily the objects that we encounter that are samsaric, but rather the relationship that we build with them that is samsaric. Okay. So we take this, the fundamental nature, this fact of interdependence, of interbeing, because we do not recognize, because we do not recognize it, because we do not recognize the fundamental freedom that we are, and this fundamental, it is this very fundamental freedom. You could say you are free to experience suffering, and this fundamental freedom will not impose itself on you to stop you. We have this fundamental freedom to not know who we are in truth. And because of this fundamental freedom, and because we are not aware of our fundamental nature, that this fundamental nature is itself freedom, because of turning away from that. And turning away from that, it's not like we know that there is freedom and then we decided to ignore it. But rather, we turn against that by imposing limitation, by imposing a nature to it that it is not. And this imposition of a nature that it is not, that's what makes us experience reality in a way that you could say is samsaric, a way where we are not awakened, where we feel confused, where we feel incapable of understanding the very experiences that we ourselves are having at the time that we are having it. There's a sense of distance from understanding it. So when say Koro and Yemik, the disadvantages of samsaric existence, when this teaching is presented, it's supposed to be like holding a mirror. Say, look at your reality right now. Look at the reality of your existence right now. And so it talks about different ways of suffering, the 3 suffering, the 6 sufferings. But all that is showing us that when we turn away, and it's not like there was a time when we were facing the truth, and then somehow in our free within that freedom, we decided, okay, let me see what it feels like if I turn away from it. There is no such thing. There is no such moment. There isn't a time when you could say, I've decided to turn away from truth. That itself is can only be spoken of from within confusion, from within misunderstanding, from within ignorance. Outside of ignorance, that question makes no sense whatsoever. So it's not a matter of looking for when was I not, but rather this is the condition. This itself is a distraction again. Because the thing is, what is happening right here, right now? And being able to recognize that this reactivity is a habit from stories that have been building up about my experiences, and beginning to have a doubt about how you respond to things, beginning to have doubt about what we are convinced is real, like especially the subjective realities as to this person is really bad, this person is really good, this thing is really annoying, this thing is really nice, but rather try to meet experiences exactly as they are. And at first we will begin to notice that, look, this is my story that I'm putting on top of this. I don't know exactly what is the raw information, but I'm beginning to see that what I am perceiving, what I'm contemplating as being real, I'm beginning to see that, that's a story. You're beginning to sort of see the aspects. You're beginning to see the coloring of what makes an experience a story. You may not know what is beneath the story, what is the story about, but you begin to recognize, story. especially when it forces you to have emotional reactivity. That's one of the signs that it is story that you're really dealing with. You're no longer dealing with reality, but you're dealing with a story. And dealing with story, that's samsara. That reminds me immediately of when there's a sutra where the Buddha is telling. I think I mentioned this story many times, where the Buddha is talking about a glass of water, and the Buddha says, when ordinary beings look at a glass of water and they say, "Oh, look, a glass of water," and the Buddha say, "They're wrong." But when an enlightened person looks at a glass of water and says, "Oh, look, a glass of water," the Buddha say, "Oh, that person is correct." So when it's not that the glass of water itself is the enlightened thing, the enlightened object. The glass of water remains a glass of water, but when we are caught up in samsara, we create stories on top of it. So what we are calling a glass of water is not really a glass of water, but we are actually just referring to our story about the raw thing. But when we become free from distracting ourselves, from the compulsion to distract ourselves from our truth, in I don't want to seem to be promoting Dzogchen, but but the language of Dzogchen is sort of is helpful. Awareness is when Dzogchen talk about awareness, they're talking about just like when the Buddha talked about, look, when an enlightened person sees a glass of points to a glass of water and says glass of water, they're wrong. And when an enlightened person points and says glass of water, they're right. It's the same thing about awareness. But for now, whatever you can experientially understand as awareness, just know that there is more to it. But the thing that you're able to touch right now that you call awareness, it's when you look at it, what is it? It has no boundaries. You can't say it ends here or it starts here. It is beyond something that can be located, that can be confined to location, and is not a specific appearance the way appearances are. It is not a particular pitch. It is not a particular vibration. It is not a particular color. It is not a particular shape. It is when we if we were to use conceptual language to describe it, it is openness itself. It is freedom itself. It is because it is freedom in a sense that diversity happens within it, and as diversity happens within it, diversity doesn't change it. It doesn't make it become diverse, multiple. It doesn't make it become something else. And whether there is perception, whether there is something to perceive, or whether there is nothing to be perceived, it remains. It remains free. It remains formless. It remains in the way that in a descriptive way that we say empty, not necessarily in the philosophical way of empty. It is that too, but in terms of appearance, in terms of immediate experience, when we think of awareness, just bare awareness, it is freedom, it is vastness, it is non-confined, non-confining. It is also luminous, vibrant. Okay, so you could say that is our nature. And when we say that is our nature, now think of when an enlightened being says awareness, that they're definitely seeing something completely different than what I'm seeing. Okay, so in that sense, our nature, that's what our nature is. So when awareness doesn't know itself, that very unknowing of itself that is samsara. And what is the opposite of that? When awareness knows itself, that itself is nirvana. So it's not that you are transported to a different place. It's not that the work suddenly becomes filled with gold and jewelry. And when you're in samsara, even though there's gold and jewelry, you can't see it, or your samsara didn't create it. But rather, it is how we meet the journey of how we begin to transform our experience from samsaric experience to nirvanic experience is beginning to being honest with our direct experiences. When there is indeed mental afflictions present, we don't try to dismiss it. We don't try to vilify it. And we don't necessarily have to create stories about it. And when something is happening to you that you do not wish, that is unpleasant, that it has the tone of unpleasantness, we don't have to create stories about it as to this should not be happening to me. Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? I shouldn't be. This shouldn't be. This should be. I should be beyond this by now. All that is story. All that is samsara, turning the wheel of samsara. But to simply be with it as it is. You're sick. Oh, this is what's happening to the body. You don't have to create stories about it's my bad karma. What did I do wrong? Why is this happening to me? Why is it happening to me now? And all this story that the thing is, the body, the condition of body is such that it experiences when the conditions are present, it experiences something called being sick, and that's it. You don't have to make a story about it. And there are things called medicine, maybe that can address it, and maybe there are things there aren't medicine already created for it, but it doesn't mean that it's your bad karma. There's no medicine. Don't go into that story. Okay, just what's happening. I can when I walk with pain. When I walk, I don't walk with pain. And we don't have to make that into something where now it becomes suffering. Okay, so samsara isn't the absence of pain, but rather the absence of suffering. Nirvana is not the absence of pain, but rather the absence of suffering. So samsara is not the absence of pain, but the presence. I think I said the reverse. Samsara is the presence of suffering, not the absence of pain. And nirvana is not the absence of pain, but rather the absence of suffering. Okay? And also, samsara doesn't equal life. Samsara doesn't equal self. And this is where I think spiritual people are honest about, because of the misunderstanding of what is samsara, because of the misunderstanding of what is nirvana. Because of this misunderstanding, and we are spiritual, we're supposed to get out of samsara. We're supposed to go towards nirvana. But if we equate life with samsara, then who wants to live life? If we equate samsara with life, then nirvana seems to present death, no more living. But actually, samsara is zombification. We're not living. We're not meeting reality as it actually is. We are living in our own fantasies. We are living in our own stories about reality rather than reality itself. So samsara is really, in terms of which one is life, which one is death. Samsara is actually death. It's not. It's not life. And also, the misunderstanding about self, where you're presented, well, the reason that you're in samsara because you believe in a self, and without further explaining what does that actually mean, then people speculate, and people even go into the sense that they have perfect understanding, but they're not really going towards nirvana, but they have the sense that, well, I really understand what they mean. It's, yeah, we have to be able to get rid of ourself. We have to be able to get rid of self. Then we will achieve. Then we will naturally be in nirvana. Nirvana is not getting rid of self, and this is gonna sound like I'm being anti-Buddhist here. Okay. The thing is, it's not that there is no self, it's that we have misunderstand self. We understand its nature. It's not that there is no self, but rather the stories that we made about self has nothing to do with self. They're just stories. And if we are stuck in the story of self, then that self doesn't exist. It never existed. So nirvana is not getting rid of yourself, because that hesitation that you feel as a spiritual person when you come to when it seems that the proper understanding is that once you reach nirvana you get rid of self. Who wants to get rid of self? Self doesn't want to get rid of self. Okay. So nirvana is not the it's not extinguishing of self, but rather it is the complete extinguishing of the confusion that we have about what self is. Whatever it is, it's not that it doesn't exist. Okay? So samsara is not self, samsara is not life. So get rid of that misunderstanding, so that when you find yourself hesitating to leave samsara, it's because it seems like you're asked to leave life behind, no longer be alive. And then there is this somewhat strange presentation of the no self thing, that nirvana is that you get into, you're dumped into a soup where there's no longer a you, there's just a soup. And who wants to be a soup? I don't want to be a soup. Okay? And it seems like I should feel guilty for not wanting to be a soup, because that's what nirvana is. Nirvana is that soup where I lose myself and there's no more self, and it's just the soup. Okay? No. Remember, Buddha Shakyamuni is not right now some soup, some cosmic soup where there's no more Buddha Shakyamuni. And when you are connecting to what someone called a Buddha Tara or Buddha Manjushri or Buddha Avalokiteshvara, it's not that somehow you making the soup come in and take the form of Manjushri or take the form of Tara. And the reason for pointing this out is specifically, why do we, when we encounter the teaching of samsara and nirvana, why aren't we enthusiastically trying to get out of samsara? Why aren't we enthusiastically seeking nirvana? Because nirvana seems to be some foreign thing, something outside of our continuum, something outside of ourselves, something outside that, something, it might be nice, it might be pretty, but an identity that is different than my identity that I'm trying to impose upon me. Because my identity, I should be ashamed of it. My identity, I should feel guilty about having it. My identity is something that is dirty, that should be thrown away, and I completely erase identity, and then now become soup. And um, uh, not wanting to become soup makes me, a sinful person. Okay? And now I find myself not wanting to be soup. I'm trying to make samsara as pleasant as possible because I don't want to become soup. I don't want to be the extinguished. I don't want to be no longer having life. What is no life? I have no idea what that is, but I don't want it. Okay? What is no more self? I don't know what that is, but I don't want it. So because of that, we continue to perpetuate what we think is life. We continue to perpetuate samsara. We continue to be terrified of truth because we think it will somehow cause annihilation. It will divorce us from what is intimate, what is intimately me. Okay. But rather, all those things that we consider to be things to be aspired after, that we somehow are trying to make samsara be able to give it to us. What does that mean, to try to make samsara be able to give it to us? Safety is the empty, the flux, the freedom. Meaning is that flux. Meaning is that freedom. Meaning is that luminosity. The meaning we seek is the flow. The flow, the luminosity. The safety we seek is that flow, is that luminosity. It is that freedom. Seeking safety outside of the flow. Someone said it nicely. It's like looking for stable ground on a river, demanding that the river provide a stable ground. It's not the nature of river to provide stable ground. Stop wanting it to do that for you. Okay. And it's in the middle of the ocean, trying to be unmoving, when the very nature of ocean is movement. Okay. So the safety that we seek, the sense of meaning that we seek, can only be experienced when we begin to stop taking refuge in our stories. When we allow the bare experience to be what it is, without having to put stories on it. So the very that angst that you feel, that sense of underlying dissatisfaction that we feel, it is not life. It is not intrinsic with life. Okay? So you consider life is the bare experience. When we deal with it with ignorance, when we deal with it with grasping, when we deal with it with stories, then life is samsara. When we deal with life with openness, when we deal with life with as it is, then that life is now nirvana. Okay. The very substratum of interdependence, interbeing, openness, luminosity, when we acknowledge that's what has always been there, that's what will always be there, when we align ourselves with it, then that is nirvana. And it doesn't mean that we poof go out of existence It doesn't mean poof we go become a soup where someone can come to you and say Sheol, and you will not be able to respond because Sheol is gone. No, Sheol will be here, but Sheol will be enlightened. Sheol. Sheol will have a, 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 a way of relating with reality from a place of awareness rather than from a place of confusion. Okay. And Sheol will continue to have life. Will no longer be reactive, relating with reactivity, but rather meeting things as they are and staying always connected to that. My nature is flow. My nature is flux. My nature is freedom. It's like asking water to not be water, to be stone. Okay. Let's see. I usually don't have cue cards, but I want just to make sure that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. And of course, I didn't go into what we know to be the classic presentation of what is samsara, because I don't want you to leave thinking that samsara, oh, that's a nice philosophical abstract. Maybe one day I'll consider it. But when you are driving and there's traffic, what is your reactivity? If your reactivity is immediately about what's happening to me, why is this happening to me, then you're caught up in samsara. Okay? And you could be in the same traffic, in the same car, and because you're not reacting to this, you're not immediately making it self-referential. You're not immediately reifying your stories. Then that same, you could be in the traffic and be in nirvana. Nirvana isn't a place where there's no traffic. I know you would love that. You would love for that to be like, there's no way LA is no can there's no way someone experienced nirvana in LA. Because traffic is always horrible. But that is not what determines whether the experience is nirvana or whether the experience is samsara. Okay. When you encounter and those attributes that we find aspirational, love, compassion, connection, these are natural outflows that comes from when we are aligned with our true nature. They're not things that we necessarily have to it's like we are on our way to nirvana, and as we are on our way to nirvana, we make our we have our luggage, and then we make sure we fill it with love, we fill it with compassion on the way to nirvana, and then we will be accepted because we brought the right luggage. But rather, those things are, it's like oh, they're not going to have margarita in that place that I'm going to have vacation, so I'm going to bring my own margarita. And when you get over there, that's all they have. Okay. So it is not that don't try to be loving, don't try to be compassionate, but rather don't think that these are the things that create nirvana. But rather, these are things that help us align with what is naturally present in nirvana. So when we are making ourselves loving, when we are making ourselves compassionate, what we are doing is not creating the condition for creating nirvana, but rather we are aligning ourselves. We are creating what you might call a resonance with what is naturally present in our own nature. Okay. I think that's the last line that I would like to say. And if I miss anything, so I don't want to talk about samsara and then and trying to scare you as if you're little kids. You know, there's suffering here. Everything is suffering. I know immediately the mind will try to fight against that, because it seems like we've already uh, made it as if life is samsara. So it doesn't matter if it's suffering. I want life. It doesn't matter if self is suffering. I don't want to be no. I don't want to have no self. I don't want to be a soup. Okay. All right. So do you want a life that is different than an unenlightened life? All right. Any questions? Because I think that's it for now.
I have a question.
Please.
Um, I've been experiencing what you're talking about, where I have this like cute little self that I keep on feeling is real, and I know it's not. And
Mm-hmm.
I keep on saying to myself, stop it. I feel such a sense of like a loss, a great loss of someone that I've known for years, and all that I have, I'm losing, and I feel alone, completely alone. And I know it's not real, and I'm doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not real. So I think that, I guess what I'm asking you is this part of the struggle? This is what I'm supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
experiencing. I'm not supposed to, I guess I'm not just automatically able to say, "Yeah, this is it. It's a struggle.
Mm-hmm. Oh
That's what
yes.
I'm saying."
Yeah, definitely. When we begin to no longer rely on on stories, we'll no longer begin to break down the habitual patterns. There is this underlying grasping that is still present, that needs something to grasp onto. And grasping meaning grasping automatically wants something fixed. Okay, so you're beginning to recognize that, wait a minute, this thing that I've been grasping onto is not is a fruitless endeavor, because there is nothing that can be grasped, because there's nothing fixed. But there is this story that we make about that which is the a self that is fixed, and we believe that story. And when something seems to be undermining that, even though it is a brave thing that we are doing, we are undermining this, but the subtle grasping is still there. It's looking, okay, if it's not this one, then it must be something else that I need to grasp on, that is the self, that is the fix on that is the fixed identity. So the sense of uh, of loneliness that we feel, that is also a reactivity that we can call, that is itself samsara. Uh, what's wrong with being alone? What? Why do we make a story that there's something wrong with being by myself, being alone? What is that wrong? Why do we make that story? So that story that I'm feeling alone, I'm isolated, rather than just being, oh, this is what it is. It's me here, and it's it's you could also say it is a pointing. Remember, I said or samsara suffering is also a pointing. So the uneasiness, the sense of loneliness, the sense of that something is offness. All that is pointing to you have turned away. That experience you're experiencing is the byproduct of having you're not looking at your true nature. You're not allowing yourself to see your true nature. And remember the what you call the sub, if we can call it a substance, but not that it is a substance, but the very fundamental basis of self is interconnectedness. So loneliness is an illusion created by a self that is disconnected from its truth, because there is no such thing as a real loneliness. We are never lonely. We are always connected. There are so many things that we are connected to. We are never alone. So when we feel that, that is a sign pointing, we are no longer at this moment abiding in the truth of our nature. So take that as an indication to look in, because all those things that we're looking for, sense of connection, sense of meaning, they are themselves the nature that is our nature. That's what we are actually looking for. We are looking for our nature. I hope that wasn't too long of a non-answer.
No, that was very good. Thank you. Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you. All right. Yes.
So I was having these thoughts of like, there's moments in which, I'm dwelling in, overwhelmingly the majority of my time is spent dwelling in samsaric ideas and relation to reality. And then there's some times where it feels like, you're dwelling in more from the nirvana side. And then I was having the thought like, well, does a Buddha then just always dwell in that nirvanic state? But then I was also thinking like, is that then not like being caught up in an idea of permanence in that? So does that make sense? Like the idea of like always being in nirvana, it still has this idea of permanence to it. And I was wondering if you could
I
maybe
see. So
clarify that.
always, yeah.
Yeah.
When they say permanence, they don't necessarily mean fixed, but rather unchanging. You have to consider it unchanging. Yeah. Sorry. When they say permanence, they mean unchanging, fixed, enduring. Doesn't necessarily rely on the way we understand permanence as unchanging. So the nirvanic state is that you are one with the flux, with the ever-changing. There isn't a wish for any experience to stop being a flux, being an ever flow. That's in being in nirvana. It's not that there is this one experience that is a nice experience, and this one experience, nice experience, continues, and you're stuck with it, and you can't have another nice experience. It's like you have your nice experience, better hold on to it because that's your nirvana. But rather, the blissful experience comes from completely releasing, completely letting go, completely releasing the sense that that the self has to be some discrete thing. But being able to have a sense of the self identifying with the flow, with the continuity. That is nirvana. Always meeting reality as it is. That is nirvana. So the Buddha is always, when you reach that state, Nirvana, and being all, you cannot lose it, means that you know you're always in alignment with truth, and you can never be experiencing confusion anymore about your reality, because that's what samsara is. Okay, it's confusion. It's confusing experiences, and then acting from that place of confusion. So we are free from that confusion when you are in nirvana.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Did I? All right. Yeah. Actually, Nizam wanted to ask the question. Um, how how we can know whether the discomfort is something we need to stay present with versus something we need to resolve, and which discomfort is part of reality versus a discomfort created by repeating it or being stuck. Interesting question. So the discomfort that is being presented, that is said to be that is samsara. And when you make that observation and you come to that conclusion, then for now the experience of nirvana is not that move away from the discomfort. Remember, the discomfort is happening. It is present. It is now. Trying to distract yourself from it is perpetuating samsara. But acknowledging that there is this discomfort without creating a story about it, that is when you begin to unravel the chain of samsara. Okay. Since Nizam is not here to know if this was an answer, but that would be it. So it's not that we need to resolve the discomfort, but we need to just meet it for what it is. And it's not that we shouldn't do anything about it, but the thing is, don't make a story about it. This is what it is. It is a problem. It is a difficulty. Meet it. Connect with the dependent origination nature that it is an expression of, and knowing that this expression of dependent origination creates discomfort. If I do this and that, then it will not be here anymore. But as it is present, no need to further create stories about it. Okay. Yeah. All right. Again, it is way past your bedtime. Thank you very much for your support, for coming here, and for sharing your thoughts and your presence. We'll continue on the stages of the path. So actually, Nizam, as you're adjusting yourself for meditation, just remember Nizam said, mentioned something about in the beginning about what did he say again? Yeah. Never mind. I guess it wasn't important. All right. So get yourself ready. Once you feel that you're in the posture that is conducive to meditation, if you can recall the meditation that you just had, and as you're recalling it, you begin to re-experience it, how it felt in the body, how it felt in the breath, how it felt in the mind. The mere recalling of it begins to give you a re-experience of it. And as you begin to re-experience it, try to be in the center of that and let it be. Staying in it, take a nice, gentle, deep breath, staying in it, staying in it, staying in it. Feeling it throughout all the dimensions of you, physically, mentally. And then let yourself drop deeper into it. You let the breath go. And as you letting the breath go, feel yourself going deeper into the calm, deeper into the pleasantness, deeper into the clarity and radiance. So I want you to think about back the sense of angst, the sense of something not quite off, something quite not quite there, something's a bit slightly off, the slight discomfort that accompanies everything. And look at the awareness that is aware of it. And for whatever split second you're able to just be in that awareness, notice that that is not part of the awareness. Now deliberately think of a somewhat exaggerated experience where you felt this kind of sense of dissatisfaction in a very strong way, in a very vivid way. Perhaps when you were in traffic or in the train, someone did something, said something, or at work, someone said something, did something. At a restaurant, the food wasn't just what you thought it would be. And experience that visceral reactivity, the story that we were making about just raw information. And notice the awareness that is aware of it. And notice that even at that moment, how it itself is not intrinsic to the awareness. And now just try to be with just the awareness. Notice the wanting for something spectacular to show up. Notice the meeting of what just is as, oh, this is boring. And the expecting for something spectacular, the meeting of what is not spectacular as boring, they're not part of awareness itself. So go to the awareness. And for the split moments when you're able to just be with awareness without expecting something else, without wanting to Be with what just is. Notice that those moments. And those moments, they don't last long because the habit energy of expecting something spectacular, expecting something other than just what is there. It shouldn't be this, it should be something else. That is just habit. And just remind yourself, oh, look at awareness. Is that awareness itself? No, it's not awareness. And try to be there. Notice the habit coming again. Oh, it's just habit. And just, oh, that's what it is, just habit. Do not be annoyed with the habit. And for that split moment, you didn't become soup, but the sense of self wasn't quite exactly the way we are used to experiencing self. So with that, feel all of us in a circle in this exactly where you are. Notice how the sense of I is a complication, a beautiful, complex phenomena. And the same sense of meanness that the left hand feels for the right hand, feel it extended to each other. And that creates a luminous presence in the center. It expands as we allow our sense of self as we know it to reveal what is really there rather than what we are creating it to be. And then it expands until a sense of all reality is enveloped by this luminous presence. And diversity remains diverse, but the sense of me-ness is now expanded. The ocean needs help, that's me needing help. The sky needs help, that's me needing help. The mountain needs help, that's me needing help. Our neighbors, that's me needing help. And feel the sense of self no longer having boundary, being itself, freedom itself, luminosity itself. Not a thing, not a thing. And the luminous display begins to shrink. We don't need it anymore. We're not little kids. We don't need a luminous display to make us feel that sense. It comes back to the very center of our circle as a sign of impressing our mind with this realization. It becomes rays of light that dissolves into our minds, in our hearts. And we have this conviction: when I sincerely help myself, I help everyone. When I sincerely help everyone, I help myself. And whatever gifts your own intelligence, your own innate wisdom may have gifted you through this talk, dedicate the merit energy to help address something that you are compassionately concerned about. And get ready to come out of the meditation. Notice that you're indeed in meditation. The calm, the pleasantness, the clarity, the radiance, the focus, whatever measure they are in. Rejoice. Take a nice deep breath. Release it. And as you release it, feel yourself reconnect with your immediate surrounding, to the sense of touch, feeling the temperature, the feel of your clothing, your cushion, deliberately hearing sounds, and allowing yourself to notice colors, shapes, lights, shadows. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.